Are you ready to elevate your coding skills to enable you to develop fully functional web applications and websites? Welcome to Full Stack Web Development, your gateway to building dynamic and interactive websites from start to finish. Think of the websites you use daily, browsing an online store, checking social media, or booking a trip. All of those websites were built by developers who understand how to structure information and design interactive features. In this course, you'll use the same tools as those developers, including HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and more. Your journey begins with an introduction to HTML or hypertext markup language. HTML forms the backbone of every website, defining its structure and content. From simple text to complex layouts, HTML is where it all starts. In this course, you'll learn how to create well-structured HTML documents, ensuring that your web pages are not only presented in an organized and accessible manner to users, but also understandable to search engines like Google, Yahoo, DuckDuckGo, and others. Every HTML document follows a specific structure. It starts with the doc type declaration, which ensures that browsers interpret your code using the correct version of HTML. The HTML tag wraps all the content. The head section holds crucial information like meta tags and links to style sheets, and the body section contains the page's visible content. Understanding these elements is the first step toward building effective and well-structured websites. While HTML is essential for building a web page's structure, it's CSS or cascading style sheets that makes it visually appealing. As per the W3C consortium, the group that controls web standards, CSS should be responsible for every visually appealing element, from colors, fonts, and layouts to responsiveness. This ensures that your website automatically adjusts its styles to be visually appealing on devices of different sizes, such as phones, tablets, and desktops. In today's world, where mobile usage is rapidly growing, understanding how to create responsive designs with CSS is more important than ever. You'll learn three main ways to apply CSS to your HTML code. Inline styles make quick and specific changes directly within your HTML elements. Internal style sheets apply styles to a single page from within the head section. Finally, external style sheets enable you to link one CSS file across multiple pages, providing consistency across your entire website. After learning how to structure and style your website, the next step is adding interactivity. JavaScript is a scripting language that enables websites to respond to user actions, validate forms, create dynamic content, and more. By mastering JavaScript, you'll be able to build interactive and engaging websites that keep users connected and involved with your content. All the code you have learned, like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, runs on the browser, also known as the front end or the presentation layer. Web development doesn't stop at creating front-end interfaces, though. To be a full-stack developer, you must also understand how to write code that is not visible to the user on the browser, but runs on the server. This is known as backend code. In this course, you'll explore a Model View Controller or MVC architecture, a robust design pattern that separates your application's presentation, logic, and data layers. On the back end, you'll work with tools like Spring and Spring Boot to build and manage scalable, secure web applications. These frameworks are widely used in the industry for their reliability and ease of use, making them an essential skill for any web developer. You'll also explore security features, such as user authentication and role-based access control, ensuring your applications are safe and secure in today's complex digital environment. Modern web applications rely on leveraging web APIs to communicate between the client and the server using something called RESTful API. This course explores the creation of RESTful services, an essential technology for building scalable, maintainable applications. You'll learn how to design APIs that allow applications to interact seamlessly, whether retrieving data, submitting forms, or processing transactions. Plus, you'll gain understanding of advanced concepts like HATOS, or hypermedia as the engine of application state, helping you design more intelligent and flexible APIs. You'll also examine Amazon's cloud offerings, including how to use services like Amazon Web Services or AWS to host and manage your applications, create Lambda functions, and use databases on AWS. AWS provides industry-leading cloud computing platforms, and skills in cloud deployment are highly sought after in today's job market. From virtual servers known as EC2 to scalable storage known as S3 to RDBMS servers known as RDS, you'll gain hands-on experience with the tools that power some of the world's biggest websites. To put everything you've learned into practice, the course culminates in a final project where you'll build a fully functional dynamic web application. This will showcase all your skills, from HTML and CSS to JavaScript, API development, and security. The final project will be an invaluable addition to your portfolio, demonstrating your ability to create a scalable, user-friendly web application from start to finish. Full-stack development isn't just a skill. It's a pathway to creativity, problem-solving, and innovation in today's digital world. It enables you to share your ideas and applications with a global audience over the World Wide Web. Let's get started. In this project, you'll combine all the skills you have learned so far, along with the new skills in Course 5, in order to create a working, full-stack application that enables any user of the web application to manage their pending tasks, which is often referred to as a to-do task. This web application will enable the creation of to-do tasks with a due date, as well as tracking and marking them as done when the tasks are completed. Since the web application will be personalized, meaning that every user can view and manage only his or her tasks, a secure system is envisioned. You'll be using Spring Boot Security to provide access to a person's own to-do tasks, only after a username and password combination is used to log into the web application. In short, you will integrate front-end and back-end development skills with security features to showcase your ability to build real-world solutions. Let's walk through the key highlights of your web application. First, users will start on the homepage. From there, they can either log in if they have an account or register for an account. If users don't have an account, they are prompted to register by providing their details and creating a password. Once registration is successful, users are redirected to a login page with feedback that registration is successful. If not successful, they are redirected to the registration page with appropriate feedback. If the user is redirected back to the registration page, the feedback might represent an error when registering, like an attempt to use an already existing username. The login page will allow users to enter their credentials, such as their email or passwords, in order to use the features of the web application. Upon successful login, the user is redirected to a personalized dashboard. If the login fails, an error message is displayed. Once logged in, users land on the dashboard. Here, they can view their tasks, organized into pending and completed categories. The tasks that are due on the current date are highlighted on the top of the dashboard and are color-coded based on priority. Red for high, yellow for medium, and green for low for greater visibility and focus by the user. Let's explore the functionality of the items your dashboard will contain. Users can click on the Add Task button, which brings them to a form where they can enter the task's title, description, due date, and priority. After submitting, the task is saved and displayed on their dashboard for the user to view. Users can also edit their existing tasks if they are not marked complete. When editing a task, the task editing form is pre-filled with the task's current details, allowing users to make quick changes. Users can also delete tasks that are no longer required, ensuring their to-do list stays up to date, or mark each task as completed. Finally, each user's data and task is securely managed using Spring Boot Security. This ensures that only logged-in users can access their tasks and data. Users can also change their passwords so that they do not get stuck on the same password, which is deemed to be a safe practice. However, to change their password, they must be logged in and they must provide their existing password. The entire web application will be made visually appealing using CSS. You'll work with primary, secondary, and tertiary color schemes to implement in a variety of ways, which is a way of presenting pleasing colors to the user, which you will learn more about in Course 7. For example, you'll use the primary color for prominent sections like the to-do list, title, and logo, buttons such as Create Task, and links such as hover states for interactive links. You can use accent colors for features like error messages and delete buttons. The project will use Maven as its build tool, which will enable you to leverage the Maven-based structure for the Spring Boot project with Timeleaf as the template engine for rendering dynamic HTML views. Using Maven will also allow you to pull in dependencies and libraries using a file known as pom.xml, with fewer manual configuring dependencies. Together, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Timeleaf will enable you to build a web application where you can dynamically generate and manage the content shown on the web application for managing the tasks. By the end of this project, you'll have built a complete to-do list web application, combining all the skills you've learned from front-end design to back-end logic. Are you ready to begin learning and putting your skills into practice? Let's get started. You're planning to build a new house and your mind is full of exciting ideas. You're thinking about the interior. How many rooms will you have and their uses? How will you decorate them? And what are the furniture choices? Of course, the house needs to be built before any of these ideas can become a reality. It will need to have a solid structure, including foundations, walls, and a roof. In the same way, when designing a web page, you envision its look and purpose. But before you can make these ideas a reality, the web page needs a solid foundation and framework. Hypertext Markup Language, known as HTML, provides this. HTML structures every web page, guiding the browser to organize and display content. Whether you're adding text, images, or links, HTML is the blueprint that makes it possible. In this video, you'll learn the purpose of HTML, the structure of HTML documents, incorporating tags, and interpretation by browser. Let's get started. Hypertext Markup Language allows users to navigate between web pages easily through links, shaping the foundation of the web. HTML uses tags to instruct browsers how to display content. Over time, HTML has evolved. The latest version, HTML5, introduces new features like audio, video, and enhanced mobile support. These updates make building interactive, dynamic web pages easier for everyone. HTML isn't a programming language like Java, C++, or Python. It's a markup language. HTML tags mark page elements arranged hierarchically. Like keywords in programming languages, HTML tags define the structure of your content. So, since tags are important, how would you recognize them? Tags are written within angle brackets, like the HTML tag. Most tags have a corresponding close tag with a / prefix to the name, such as /HTML. Every HTML document follows a clear hierarchy that helps browsers display content correctly. Some tags have opening and closing pairs, while others, called empty tags, have only one tag with a /, like BR/, indicating no closing tag. As you can imagine, it is important that your page is properly displayed. Adding the !doc_type HTML tag to your HTML document tells the browser it is a HTML5 page. Let's explore how you can do this. First up is the doctype declaration. The doctype declaration is placed at the beginning of a HTML document to inform the browser that it should interpret the page as HTML5. This ensures consistent rendering across different web browsers. In VS Code, create a new file and name it index.html. Place this !doctype HTML declaration at the top of every HTML page. It is not a HTML tag, but an instruction to the web browser about the version of HTML the page is written in. It tells the browser this is a HTML document. This ensures that the browser interprets and displays it correctly. Without it, older browsers might default to outdated HTML standards. Next is the HTML tag. Think of this as the container for everything on your webpage. It wraps around all your content, indicating that everything inside is HTML code. Notice an opening HTML tag at the start and a closing /HTML tag at the end. Every HTML document consists of two sections, head section and body section. Let's explore each section starting with the head section. Inside the HTML tag, enter head tag to insert head section. This part of the document contains all the behind-the-scenes information about your web page, like the page, title, meta information, and links to style sheets or scripts. Note that the closing head tag is automatically inserted. In the head section, enter the title tag to define what will appear in the browser tab when someone visits your page. Type in My First Web Page as the page title. It doesn't appear on the page, but is important in user experience and search engine optimization. Next up is the body section. The body section is where your web page's visible content lives. Everything you want your users to view will go here: text, images, buttons, or videos. Below the /head tag, enter the body tag, and notice the /body tag is automatically inserted. For instance, here the h1 tag displays Hello World as a text with certain pre-formatted attributes such as font size. In the Explorer view of VS Code, right-click on the index.html file and then select Show Preview option. Ensure the Live Preview extension of VS Code is already enabled. A preview pane opens on the right side of the VS Code editor. It shows the preview of how your HTML will appear in a browser. Double-click on index.html in its folder to open it in your computer's default browser, such as Chrome or Edge. Now that you've observed the effect of using HTML tags, keep in mind that there are many more to explore. You'll learn more in the upcoming videos and readings. How are HTML tags interpreted by a browser? When you're adding HTML tags to your document, you should consider how they are processed and interpreted by the browser. The browser acts as a translator and recognizes tags like H1, P, and IMG after transforming your code into a styled and interactive web page. And there you have it. In this video, you uncovered the purpose of HTML, structure of HTML document, incorporating tags, and interpretation by browser. Understanding HTML will help you turn your ideas and insights about your website into dynamic, impactful content. Whether you're building a simple web page or developing a complex web application, HTML provides the essential structure to bring your vision to life. Lists have played an essential role in human culture, from ancient inventories carved into stone to the task lists managed on phones today. These unsung heroes help us organize information, prioritize tasks, and present details clearly. In the digital world, HTML lists serve the same purpose, allowing us to structure and display content effectively. In this video, you'll be introduced to the two main types of HTML lists, unordered and ordered. You'll learn how each one works, when to use them, and how to create them. Let's start with unordered lists, which are used when the order of items doesn't matter. For example, in a grocery list with vegetables, fruit, dairy, and beverages, the order isn't important. You might organize the list by store layout, but the sequence still wouldn't be crucial. In HTML, unordered lists are created using the UL tag, which starts the list, and then \UL to close it. And each list item is wrapped in LI tags. Now let's walk through how to create this list in VS Code. First, create a new file and name it index.html. In the head section, give it a title like My Shopping List. Next, in the body, add a heading using the h2 tag to label the list. For example, unordered list. Start and close the unordered list with the appropriate UL tag, and you'll notice VS Code suggests the closing tag automatically. So that's convenient. To list the items you need to buy, wrap each one, vegetables, fruits, dairy, and beverages, in LI tags. Once you've added everything, save the file or risk forgetting what you need to buy. To display the final list, right-click on the file name in the Explorer and choose Show Preview. which then reveals the full list of items in your browser. Notice that because the order doesn't matter, HTML automatically adds bullet points to each item. Neat. But what if the sequence of items in a list is important, like the steps for keeping the pantry stocked? This is where ordered lists step in and provide more structure. If you want to show the actual steps for preparing to go grocery shopping, like first checking the pantry, then making a list, visiting the store, and finally unpacking groceries, you need the items in a specific order. In HTML, it's UL tags for unordered lists and OL for ordered, and both use LI for individual items. The VS Code is also similar. If it isn't already, open index.html and add an H2 tag in the body section to give your list a heading. This time you'll go with ordered list. Start the ordered list section with the OL tag, and the closing one will be auto-suggested. Next, wrap each item in LI tags in order from top to bottom. You'll keep it simple with check the pantry, make a list, visit the store, and unpack the groceries. Save the index.html file and open it using the browser preview. The list displays with numbers, not bullets, in increasing order, prefixed to each item. This format is ideal for instructions, steps in a process, or tasks that need to follow a specific sequence. What if you want to break down each item in the list further? This is where nested lists come in handy. To nest a list inside an existing one, simply place another set of UL or OL tags inside a list item. To do this on the groceries list, you can expand it to include subcategories with more details. In this example, use nested list as the heading so it's clear. Under vegetables, wrap carrots, spinach, and potatoes in the UL tags. You're using UL because the order of the items doesn't matter. Similarly, under fruits, you'll add apples and bananas. Once you're done adding what you need, save the index.html file and open it with browser preview. This will render your new nested list in the browser on the sidebar. By default, unordered lists use bullet points, but with a bit of CSS, you can customize them to any symbol you like. Lists are vital tools in web development that make it easy to organize content logically. To recap, use unordered lists when the order of items doesn't matter, like grouping related items or categories. Use ordered lists when you need to show a sequence such as steps in a process. And don't forget you can nest lists to create a clear hierarchy and add more detail when needed. Mastering these list types enables you to create clear, well-organized web pages that enhance both usability and navigation for your users. You already know that each web page has its own address or URL. This is the long string of characters that appears in the address bar at the top of the browser window. Imagine if you had to type that in every time you wanted to go to a new page on a website. It wouldn't be an enjoyable or speedy experience. And what if you made a mistake and had to start all over again? Luckily, you don't have to do this because you can browse pages easily by just clicking on hyperlinks. Whether you're building a recipe page, a shopping site, or even a blog, understanding how to create hyperlinks to let the user navigate is essential. This video explores hyperlinks, which are a fundamental HTML concept. You will learn how to create a hyperlink that would take a user to a different section on the same page, another page on the same website, or to any external website. Hyperlinks are essential for effective web navigation. They enable users to seamlessly move between pages, access additional resources, and explore interconnected information. As a developer, adding effective hyperlinks to your web pages contributes to a positive user experience. They can also promote content accessibility. Hyperlinks are also crucial for search engine optimization, known as SEO. A search engine examines a website's link structure to establish its relevance and authority. Well-implemented hyperlinks help to improve a website's visibility and search engine rankings. So how do you create a hyperlink? You can use a HTML tag called an anchor tag to create a hyperlink. An opening tag, left angle A, right angle, is placed at the beginning of a piece of text. A closing tag, left angle / A, right angle, is placed at the end of a text. The text or content placed between the two anchor tags becomes clickable. By clicking on it, the user can navigate to another location or web page. The browser is redirected to the URL assigned to the href attribute of the anchor tag. The href attribute in a link or anchor tag tells the browser where to go when you click the link. It's like the address that the link points to on the web. This attribute is the most commonly used attribute of the opening A tag inside the angle brackets. It specifies the destination where the link will navigate. The href attribute value can be an absolute URL such as http://example.com. Alternatively, it could be a relative URL such as about.html that points to a specific file or page within the same website. Let's put this into practice in the shopping list website that you've been working on. It consists of a home page, a registration form, a login page, and a page that presents a list of available items. The website has files called index.html, registration.html, login.html, and shoppinglist.html. Let's begin by opening the shoppinglist.html in the VS Code editor. It contains the list of items available for the user to buy. You would like to provide links for the user to go to the other pages. Place the cursor just above the page heading, add a left angle A, right angle tag to create a hyperlink for the home page. Set index.html as the value of the href attribute by typing a href equals quote, index.html, quote, inside angle brackets, home, closing A tag. The browse view of the shopping list shows a link to the home page. Note that the home word is underlined in blue. Place the mouse cursor over home. The status bar at the bottom shows the URL of the index.html. Clicking on the link displays the home page in the browser. You would also like to have a hyperlink on the home page to go back to the shopping list. Towards the top of the home page, insert a hyperlink to the shoppinglist.html. To do so, in the document called index.html, use VS Code to type a href equals quote, shoppinglist.html inside angle brackets, shoppinglist closing A tag. You will often need to create internal links within a web page so that users can navigate directly to specific sections or elements of the page. The ID attribute of the anchor tag provides a way to link specific sections within a web page. First, you need to create a section within your web page that you want to be linked to. Then you assign a unique ID attribute to the section. Once this has been done, you can create a hyperlink at any other location within the same page that points to this section. To do this, set the href attribute of the anchor tag to the ID attribute of the target section, prefixed by the hashtag symbol, which is used for anchor IDs, followed by the value of the ID. When the anchor link is clicked, the browser navigates to the corresponding section within the web page. Now let's explore adding these types of links to the shopping list website. You already have the list of items available in the shoppinglist.html. Now let's add a paragraph as a description of the apples item. Inside the p tag, assign apples as the ID attribute. This paragraph can now be linked to the li in angle brackets item, apples in the list of fruits. To create a hyperlink around the word apples, use the anchor tag with its href attribute set to #apples, the ID of the paragraph below. Type inside angle brackets lia href equals #apples. Apples closing A tag, closing li tag. When opening the page, shoppinglist.html is opened in the browser. You will see a hyperlink around the word apples, pointing to the internal hyperlink. Click on the link. The browser scrolls down to the paragraph describing the item apples in the shopping list. You can also use #top to create a hyperlink to take the browser to the top of the page by typing inside angle bracket h2, a href #top, back to the top of page, closing A tag, closing h2 tag. You can assign the URL of any external website to the href attribute of the anchor tag. The link takes the browser to the specified external URL. You may want the external website to open in another tab of the browser instead of the current tab. For this purpose, set the target attribute to quote_blank quote. This statement creates a hyperlink to Amazon's homepage. Inside angle bracket A, href equals https://www.amazon.com/target equals underscore blank closing Amazon closing A tag. Ensure that the live server extension is installed in VS Code. Right-click on the shoppinglist.html file in the Explorer view and select Open with Live Server from the menu. The page should open in the default browser. Hover the mouse over Amazon, which displays a link to Amazon's homepage. When you click it, it will open in a new tab. In this video, you've learned a great deal of useful information about hyperlinks. You've learned how to create external links to other websites, internal links within the same page, and even how to open links in a new tab. The knowledge you've gained here will be useful to you in the future when you develop websites. By bringing the key skills covered here into play, you will be able to design and build dynamic, interactive, and user-friendly web pages. You're on a coffee break at work and taking the opportunity to do some quick online research. Your car insurance is close to its renewal date and you're searching for a better deal. And if that great deal is out there, you need to find it quickly because you have to be back at your desk in 10 minutes. The first company website you open contains only blocks of detailed text. The information you need is buried in paragraphs of information and lists of different car makes and engine sizes. Don't have enough time to go through all of that, you mutter, as you hit exit. The next company website you open has a home page that doesn't have a lot of text. What it does have is a picture of a smiling driver in a car that looks just like yours. The words "quick quote" are printed underneath. You click on it straight away. But why is an image more effective than text? First, it presented the key message, getting a quotation, in an easy-to-find format. The combination of the picture and the two words meant you could make a quick connection and get to where you wanted to be in a short space of time. And the appearance of the car and the smiling driver created an important emotional connection. Because images enhance a user's experience, it is essential to understand how to insert an image into a web page. In this video, you'll learn how to add images to web pages using HTML. You will also discover how to set their dimensions, how to provide alternate text for accessibility, and how to add titles to offer extra context. Once you have identified an image that you want to incorporate into your web page, you need to embed it in the HTML document. You use the img tag element to do this. The img tag HTML element embeds an image into the document. This tag actually creates a holding space for the image linked to the page. This is the basic syntax for the img tag. Here, src is the mandatory attribute, specifying the URL of the image to be displayed. The src attribute of the img tag in HTML is compatible with various image formats, including JPEG, PNG, GIF, and SVG. Remember your shopping list website. Users would probably find it easier to use if they had an image of an item as well as a name and description. Let's explore how to do that. Let's first add 3 fruits: apples, mangoes, and bananas. Use H2 heading for this. Below each heading, add a descriptive paragraph. In this specific example, lorem ipsum text is used as a placeholder. The page preview shows the item heading and description. Now add the image of apples below the heading. Note that this image is in the same directory. Type img src equals apples.jpg. When the page is opened in the browser, an image is displayed between the heading and the paragraph. Keep in mind that the image you use can come from outside of the current directory. In that situation, its full URL must be given. The src attribute is mandatory, but there are other attributes that you should also consider. An important attribute that should always be included is the alt attribute. This is specified inside the img tag. The alt attribute provides an alternative text description for the image. This is important in 2 situations. If the image cannot be loaded due to an error, this alternative descriptive text can be displayed. Its other important function is to aid accessibility. As a developer and website designer, you should always remember that images are not accessible to all users. If a user finds an image inaccessible, then the alternative text description provides vital information. The alt attribute can be added to the img tag as alt equals with the alternate text enclosed by quotation marks. Another very useful attribute is the title attribute. It provides text that will be displayed as a description or additional information when hovering over the image. The title attribute can be added to the img tag as title equals quotation mark, title close quotation mark. Let's explore adding those two attributes to an image on the shopping list. First, let's add an image to go with the description of bananas. Use the alt and title attributes in the img tag. Type img space src equals bananas.jpg. Alt equals image of bananas. Title equals bananas. Open the page in the browser now. It should display the image between the heading and the paragraph. If the mouse pointer hovers over the image, the title is displayed. By default, the browser displays an image at its original size. As a result, it may not align with your design. This can also lead to unexpected, oversized or undersized images and may affect the performance. The img tag also supports width and height attributes. You can specify the dimensions of the image in pixels. This attribute is important to control the size of the image on the page. The values must be integer. In this example, the width of an image has been defined by adding width equals 400 to the img tag. Let's add an image below the heading for mangoes. Use the width and height attributes to specify the image size in the img tag. Type img space src equals mangoes.jpg. Width equals 400, height equals 220. You can use height or width equals auto to maintain the aspect ratio. If you now open the page in the browser, it should display the mangoes image between the heading and the paragraph. The image is sized according to the dimensions specified. This video has shown you how to use the img tag to add images to your web pages and how to specify an src for the image path. You learned about the importance of adding an additional text description using an alt attribute, which ensures that the images are accessible to all users. You now know that width and height attributes can be used to control dimensions, and a title attribute can add hover text. As you progress in your development career, the skills you've learned in this video will help you take your design skills to the next level. Adding images will give your web pages more impact. Knowing how to use these attributes correctly will make those images more adaptable, informative, and accessible. You're on a coffee break at work and taking the opportunity to do some quick online research. Your car insurance is close to its renewal date and you're searching for a better deal. And if that great deal is out there, you need to find it quickly because you have to be back at your desk in 10 minutes. The first company website you open contains only blocks of detailed text. The information you need is buried in paragraphs of information and lists of different car makes and engine sizes. Don't have enough time to go through all of that, you mutter, as you hit exit. The next company website you open has a home page that doesn't have a lot of text. What it does have is a picture of a smiling driver in a car that looks just like yours. The words "quick quote" are printed underneath. You click on it straight away. But why is an image more effective than text? First, it presented the key message, getting a quotation, in an easy-to-find format. The combination of the picture and the two words meant you could make a quick connection and get to where you wanted to be in a short space of time. And the appearance of the car and the smiling driver created an important emotional connection. Because images enhance a user's experience, it is essential to understand how to insert an image into a web page. In this video, you'll learn how to add images to web pages using HTML. You will also discover how to set their dimensions, how to provide alternate text for accessibility, and how to add titles to offer extra context. Once you have identified an image that you want to incorporate into your web page, you need to embed it in the HTML document. You use the img tag element to do this. The img tag HTML element embeds an image into the document. This tag actually creates a holding space for the image linked to the page. This is the basic syntax for the img tag. Here, SRC is the mandatory attribute, specifying the URL of the image to be displayed. The SRC attribute of the img tag in HTML is compatible with various image formats, including JPEG, PNG, GIF, and SVG. Remember your shopping list website. Users would probably find it easier to use if they had an image of an item as well as a name and description. Let's explore how to do that. Let's first add 3 fruits: apples, mangoes, and bananas. Use H2 heading for this. Below each heading, add a descriptive paragraph. In this specific example, lorem ipsum text is used as a placeholder. The page preview shows the item heading and description. Now add the image of apples below the heading. Note that this image is in the same directory. Type img src equals apples.jpg. When the page is opened in the browser, an image is displayed between the heading and the paragraph. Keep in mind that the image you use can come from outside of the current directory. In that situation, its full URL must be given. The SRC attribute is mandatory, but there are other attributes that you should also consider. An important attribute that should always be included is the alt attribute. This is specified inside the img tag. The alt attribute provides an alternative text description for the image. This is important in 2 situations. If the image cannot be loaded due to an error, this alternative descriptive text can be displayed. Its other important function is to aid accessibility. As a developer and website designer, you should always remember that images are not accessible to all users. If a user finds an image inaccessible, then the alternative text description provides vital information. The alt attribute can be added to the img tag as alt equals with the alternate text enclosed by quotation marks. Another very useful attribute is the title attribute. It provides text that will be displayed as a description or additional information when hovering over the image. The title attribute can be added to the img tag as title equals quotation mark, title close quotation mark. Let's explore adding those 2 attributes to an image on the shopping list. First, let's add an image to go with the description of bananas. Use the alt and title attributes in the img tag. Type img space src equals bananas.jpg. Alt equals image of bananas. Title equals bananas. Open the page in the browser now. It should display the image between the heading and the paragraph. If the mouse pointer hovers over the image, the title is displayed. By default, the browser displays an image at its original size. As a result, it may not align with your design. This can also lead to unexpected, oversized, or undersized images and may affect the performance. The img tag also supports width and height attributes. You can specify the dimensions of the image in pixels. This attribute is important to control the size of the image on the page. The values must be integer. In this example, the width of an image has been defined by adding width equals 400 to the img tag. Let's add an image below the heading for mangoes. Use the width and height attributes to specify the image size in the img tag. Type img space src equals mangoes.jpg. Width equals 400, height equals 220. You can use height or width equals auto to maintain the aspect ratio. If you now open the page in the browser, it should display the mangoes image between the heading and the paragraph. The image is sized according to the dimensions specified. This video has shown you how to use the img tag to add images to your web pages and how to specify an SRC for the image path. You learned about the importance of adding an additional text description using an alt attribute, which ensures that the images are accessible to all users. You now know that width and height attributes can be used to control dimensions, and a title attribute can add hover text. As you progress in your development career, the skills you've learned in this video will help you take your design skills to the next level. Adding images will give your web pages more impact. Knowing how to use these attributes correctly will make those images more adaptable, informative, and accessible. You've enjoyed a quiet half hour of downtime browsing your favorite online store. There are several items in your shopping basket. You proceed to checkout, ready for that final click to buy and make a payment. But wait, how does the website know who you are, where to ship your order, or how to process your payment? This is where web forms come in. When you click to pay, you're presented with a form where you can enter all the information that the website requires, such as name, address, contact information, and of course, payment details. A form allows the website to collect this essential information. You've probably come across many of these forms in today's internet-driven world. Whether it's registering for an email service provider, placing an order, or even subscribing to a newsletter, forms transform a static website into a fully interactive experience. So how do you create these forms? The answer is with HTML. In this video, you will learn about the basics of HTML form. You'll explore frequently used form elements, such as text and password input types, multi-line text inputs, buttons, and drop-down menus. You will use all of these elements to create a registration form for the shopping list website. Before doing this, let's start by examining what an HTML form is. The HTML form, sometimes called a web form, is the main point of interaction between a user and a website or application. The form allows users to enter data, which is generally sent to a web server for processing and storage. A web form is made up of one or more form elements, such as single or multi-line text fields, drop-down boxes, buttons, checkboxes, or radio buttons. The first step is to create a form using the form tag. This tag defines the area where the user input will be collected. Every HTML form can be configured with one or more attributes. Here are the most important. The action attribute defines the URL location where the form's collected data should be sent when it is submitted. The method attribute defines which HTTP method to send the data with, usually GET or POST. The EncType attribute specifies how the form data should be encoded when submitted. By default, the encoding type is set to application/x-www-form-URL encoded. All the characters are encrypted before sending to the server. It converts a white space into a plus symbol and each special character into its hex value. Alternatively, it could be set to multipart/form data, which is useful when you need to upload a file with the HTML form. It could also be set to text/plain. This is not recommended, as the form data is sent without any encoding at all. When set to hashtag, the action attribute of the form indicates that the browser should stay on the same page when the submit button is hit, when submitted with the post method. Let's explore adding this form tag to your code. In VS Code, create a new file and name it as registration.html. Place the cursor below the body tag and type form space action equals hashtag method equals post and press enter. The closing form tag will be rendered automatically. The label tag in HTML is used to provide a descriptive label for an input element. It helps improve accessibility by associating the label with the input field. The for attribute in the label tag should match the ID attribute of the associated input element. This allows users to click on the label to focus on the input field, improving usability. The most important and most commonly used form element is the input element. The input tag specifies an input field where the user can enter data. HTML5 supports various input elements, and the type attribute of input tag is used to define the type. Here are some examples. A text field creates a single line field for text input. Password allows text input with obscured text for security. Email offers validation for email addresses in the text field. Number enables input for numeric values, with arrows for increasing or decreasing values. Checkbox produces a box that can be checked or unchecked. And radio, which creates a button that can be selected as part of a group. Let's add some of these to your registration form. Below the opening form tag, insert a text input element for the user's name. The ID of the element is name, so the for attribute of the associated label is also name. Use another text type input for username, with its ID as user ID. The password type input element is provided to let the user choose the password to be used for login. The user is asked to provide their email address in a text field of email type. The HTML5 provides built-in validation for the email address format. The text area tag renders a multi-line text input control on the form. It is often used to collect user inputs like addresses, comments, or feedback. A text area can hold an unlimited number of characters, and the text is rendered in a fixed width font. You can also specify the size of the area by the cols and rows attributes. You need to define the name attribute to reference it after the form is submitted. The ID attribute is needed to associate the text area with a label. Let's add a text area control in the registration. This text area element will allow the user to enter their correspondence address. Set the ID as well as the name attribute to address. This will be used to configure the label for the text area. Define the dimensions of the text area as 5 rows and 30 columns. The select element is used to create a drop-down list. It is most often used to let the user select one item from a list of available options. The option tags inside the select element define the available options in the drop-down list. The name attribute is needed to reference the selection after the form is submitted. The ID attribute is needed to associate the drop-down list with a label. Let's add this to the registration form so that the user can choose one of the available registration categories, premium and regular. The ID and name of the select tag is category. Inside the select tag, provide 2 option tags to hold the premium and regular categories, which the user can choose from. Finally, your registration form will need a submit button. An input element of type submit is rendered as a button. When it is clicked, the browser submits the form to the URL mentioned in the form's action attribute. The value attribute of the input element with type equals submit is a string that is displayed as the button's label. If you don't specify a value, the button will have a default label, submit. The submit button is usually the last element in the HTML form, just before the closing form tag. Let's place an input element with submit type in the registration form. Okay, now that all the desired form elements are positioned, save the registration.html file and open it in the browser preview. Enter data in the name, username, and password fields. Note that the password field masks the characters entered with asterisks. There is also Get a Preview button on the right side of the password field, which reveals the password. As you type text in the email field, the browser prompts you to enter it in the correct format. A drop-down list of categories is presented with 2 options for you to select. While the submit button is available, it will not do anything if it is clicked, as there is no backend processing provided here. You'll learn more about backend processing later. This video has provided a comprehensive explanation of form elements and guided you through the construction of a registration form. Well done. You now have a complete registration form containing text fields, a text area field, a drop-down, and a submit button. It's a simple yet functional form for registration, which you can incorporate and reuse in many different situations. In subsequent lessons, you will learn how to style these forms using CSS and how to handle the data with JavaScript. You've always enjoyed reading blogs, so you've decided to make a leap and create one yourself. It will have a header with your blog's title, a navigation bar, some individual blog posts, and a section containing closing information at the bottom. Naturally, you want this layout to be organized, accessible, and easy for search engines to understand. But how do you achieve that? That's where semantic HTML tags come in. They tell browsers, search engines, and assistive technologies how to read and interpret your layout. In HTML5, structural semantic tags such as header, footer, article, and section give specific meaning to each part of your page. This video explains how to create this blog layout using these semantic tags, so your structure is both organized and accessible. Tags such as div and span are non-semantic as they are generic containers for flow content and don't convey any meaning about that content. For example, the div tag defines a division or section within a web page. The span tag is an inline container used to group and style text or elements within a document. You've already become familiar with one type of semantic tag. Tags that are often used, such as H1 and P, are content-based semantic tags. They convey meaning about the content, such as text being either a heading or a paragraph level. You've already decided that your blog will have a title at the top and copyright and other information at the bottom. And of course, between these will be a series of individual blog posts. Which semantic tags would provide this structure? The header tag is usually used for introductory content, which is usually at the top of the page. You could use this to position your titles. Next, you would need an article tag which represents a self-contained piece of content, such as a blog post. Finally, you can use the footer tag for the closing or supplementary information. As your blog grows, you can use a section tag to group related content into thematic blocks within the page. This would help to create a better experience for the reader. If you also include a nav tag that specifies a navigation menu, you can guide users where to go. Have you ever hovered over a book title on a web page and had the author's biography appear in a sidebar or in a call-out box? You can create this kind of dynamic effect and have content appear in this way by using the aside tag. You can also employ another semantic tag, the main tag, which is used to mark the primary content of the HTML document and define its core functionality. This results in better accessibility and readability. So, now that you're more familiar with some of the common semantic tags, why should you consider using them? These tags improve the structure, accessibility, and SEO of your pages, helping search engines and assistive technologies understand the page's layout and content. SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization, which affects your website's ranking on search engines. Semantic HTML helps improve SEO by making the content more identifiable to search engines. Semantic HTML also improves responsiveness and interacts smoothly with screen readers to improve accessibility for all. In general, semantic tags improve readability for all users. The tags help structure and organize your code to keep everyone on the same page. Let's explore how you can include some of these tags for best effect. Begin in the VS Code editor and open a new folder. Create a new file named index.html for your blog. Inside the body tag, you're going to create different sections using semantic HTML tags. First up, let's add a nav tag inside the header tag. Create a navigation menu having hyperlinks to other sections in the blog page: Home, About, and Contact. Next, add the main tag, which will contain your core content. Inside main, add a couple of article tags to represent each blog post. The article tag is ideal for independent content that could stand alone like a blog post. Each article tag wraps a blog post with a title and content. By using article, you can tell browsers and search engines that each of these sections is a standalone piece of content. Next, let's add a footer tag to the end of the page. The footer is typically used for content like copyright information, social media links, or any additional information you want to display at the bottom of the page. Here, the ampersand copy is an HTML entity that renders the copyright symbol. By adding a footer, you signal to browsers that this section contains closing or supplementary information. It's usually the last thing on the page and helps users know where the content officially ends. So there you have it. By using semantic HTML tags such as header, footer, article, and section, you have created a blog layout that's easy for both users and search engines to understand. This video has demonstrated how semantic tags work. It has explored how semantic tags can be used to create and identify different content elements. It has also provided a practical example of using them to improve the structure of a web page. As you move forward in your development career, you should continue to apply the knowledge and techniques you've gained here. They will help you to create content that is accessible to all audiences and easy to maintain. This will ensure that the web pages you design are easy to find and easy to read, which will keep users coming back for more. You've just started your own company and need to build a website. The content is all there, but the page looks plain. The text feels unorganized, images are misaligned, and everything seems clumped together. It doesn't look polished or professional. So how do you transform it into a website that stands out? This is where CSS, or cascading style sheets, comes in. CSS lets you control the look and feel of your webpage by adding colors, fonts, spacing, and alignment to create a clean and professional design. Think of HTML as your website skeleton, providing structure, while CSS is the style that dresses it up, much like choosing the right outfit for an important event. CSS ensures your content is well organized and visually appealing. This video will focus on the role of CSS in web design, the different ways CSS can be applied using inline, internal, and external style sheets, and how CSS separates design from content, making web development more manageable. CSS is a style sheet language used to control the look and formatting of a web page written in HTML. While HTML handles the structure like headings, paragraphs, and images, CSS focuses on the page's appearance and layout. CSS enhances web pages by adding design elements such as fonts, colors, layouts, and spacing. It also separates content from presentation, making it easier to manage the design without altering the core content. For example, if you need to update the color of headings on 20 pages, using external CSS allows you to make the change once in the style sheet and apply it instantly across all pages. There are 3 main ways to apply CSS to HTML, each suited for different scenarios. Inline CSS applies styles directly to an HTML element using the style attribute. It's useful for quick one-off changes to specific elements. However, relying too much on inline styles can clutter your HTML and make maintenance harder, especially when styling multiple elements. Internal CSS is placed inside a style tag in the head section of the HTML document. This method keeps styling separate from the content, but within the same file. It helps apply styles to a single page without impacting others. Internal CSS offers more organization than inline styles and works well for small websites or single-page applications. External CSS is written in a separate .css file and linked to the HTML using a link tag element. This is the most efficient approach for larger websites, as it promotes reusability and consistency across multiple pages. External style sheets make it easy to apply global changes, like updating fonts or colors with minimal effort. Let's say you're creating a blog for your website with basic HTML and CSS. You want to keep things simple, so instead of creating a separate CSS file or using internal CSS, you decide to style your text directly within the HTML elements using inline CSS. For instance, on your blog's homepage, you want to write a short introduction about yourself and make the text blue, your favorite color. Here's how you do that using inline CSS inside the blog.html document. The h1 tag displays your blog's title, Welcome to my blog, using the browser's default styling. The p tag below it contains your introduction. This time you add the style attribute to the p tag with an inline CSS rule, color, blue, semicolon. When viewed in the browser, the introductory paragraph will display in blue, giving your blog a personal touch without extra CSS files or complex setups. You now move on to start designing a simple web page for your company's online newsletter. You want all the paragraph text to appear in green to give the page a consistent, polished look. Instead of adding inline CSS to each p tag, internal CSS keeps things more organized and easier to update. Here's how you'd structure the newsletter.html document using internal CSS. The CSS rules go inside a style tag in the head tag section. The rule P, curly brace, color green, semicolon, curly brace, closed, ensures every paragraph on the page displays green text. This internal style sheet will consistently style all p tag elements across the page, making it easy to maintain a cohesive design for the newsletter. If you need to update the styling later, you can do so in one central place, and it will affect all paragraphs automatically. Your company website is starting to look more polished and professional, but it still feels a bit flat. To stand out from the competition, you decide to create a homepage, a services page, and a contact page. As you now know, inline CSS works well for small tweaks, and internal CSS is great for single pages. However, when building multi-page websites, you need external CSS. External CSS manages styling across all pages in one central place. Here's how you'd structure the home.html document using external CSS. In this example, the link tag with rel equals stylesheet and href equals styles.css inside the head section of the homepage .html connects the page to the external stylesheet. The CSS rules define the paragraph text in red and the heading text in navy in a separate styles.css file. By adding the same tag to other pages, such as services.html or contact.html, the design remains consistent across the site. In this video, you explored the role of CSS in web design and the 3 key styles for applying it: inline, internal, and external CSS. With a solid grasp of CSS, you now have the tools to enhance any web page, whether a simple blog or a complex business site with multiple pages, ensuring it works well and looks great. Your company's website is coming together. You've structured the content with HTML and added basic styles with CSS. But now it's time to refine the details, ensuring every element looks exactly how you envision it. This is where CSS selectors and properties become essential. In this video, you'll learn how to use element, class, and ID selectors to style specific HTML elements and apply essential CSS properties to control color, fonts, spacing, and more. CSS selectors are patterns that target and style specific elements in the HTML document. They tell the browser which elements to apply CSS rules to based on their type, class, ID, attributes, or position within the HTML structure. Properties define how those elements should look or behave. Selectors are essential because they allow for precise styling, helping developers control the appearance and layout of elements on a web page. Let's dive into the main types. An element selector targets all HTML elements of a specific type by their tag name. For example, you would use the following CSS to style all p tags or paragraph elements with blue text. The p selector targets every p tag in the document. The curly braces group properties and values, known as the declaration block. Inside, color is the property, blue is the value, and the semicolon ends the declaration. Without the semicolon, the browser assumes it's the last property. What if you only want to style certain elements, not all paragraphs, but just a few? This is where class selectors come in handy. Classes allow you to label multiple elements and style them consistently without impacting others. For example, this HTML snippet creates 2 paragraph elements, one with a special class attribute and one without. The class, my class, applies unique styling to any element it's attached to. In this case, one paragraph gets that special styling while the other does not. The same class is also used on a div tag element, ensuring it shares the same look and feel. The following CSS code targets all elements declared with the my class attribute. The class selector is defined by a dot followed by the class name. It applies the rule to every element, with the class, my class, setting the font size to 18 pixels. Sometimes you need to style a single unique element, such as the main content area of your homepage. That's where ID selectors come in. IDs are intended for elements that appear only once on a page, making them perfect for specific styling needs. For example, the following HTML code creates one div element with a unique identifier, main content. The following CSS code targets the element defined with main content ID only. ID selectors, identified by the hash symbol, target individual elements. Here, the hashtag main content selector applies a light blue background and adds 20 pixels of margin around the content. Using IDs ensures that unique elements stand out while maintaining a clear structure. Your company decides that adding a blog would be a great way to give the website a personal touch. To make it look clean and readable, you decide to apply different CSS selectors, element selectors, class selectors, and ID selectors. Each one targets specific parts of your blog to create a polished design. The blog.html page contains several HTML elements. Let's go through each. The body element acts as the main container for all visible content. The h1 tag is a top-level heading that displays the blog's title, My Journey into Web Development. The div with an ID of main content wraps the main content. This ID helps style it as a unique section. Multiple P tags hold different sections of text. The first paragraph introduces the blog. The second paragraph explains the importance of CSS selectors. The third paragraph provides a note, using the highlight class to draw attention. The fourth paragraph encourages readers to stay tuned for future updates, again using the highlight styling to make it stand out. Now let's look at the CSS applied through internal styling. The element selector applies styles to every p tag element on the page. This sets the text color to blue, changes the font to Arial, and applies a line height of 1.6 to make the content more readable. Every p tag inherits these styles, ensuring consistency across the blog. Class selectors are used when multiple elements need the same style. The third and fourth paragraphs in the blog use the highlight class to stand out. The .highlight class gives the elements a yellow background, bold text, and 10 pixels padding. Padding refers to the amount of space added inside an element, between its content and its border. You can reuse this class for other elements that need the same styling. The ID selector styles unique elements. In the blog, the main content section holds the core content. This sets the background color to light blue, adds 20 pixels padding, a solid blue border, and a 20 pixels margin below the section. Since IDs must be unique, these styles apply only to this section. The blog.html webpage, including the CSS code, is displayed as follows. When the blog.html page opens in a web browser, several styles are present. All the paragraphs appear in blue text, using the Arial font with consistent line spacing. Paragraphs with the class highlight stand out thanks to a yellow background, bold text, and 10 pixels of padding. The main content section features a light blue background, 20 pixels of padding, and a solid blue border, creating a clear visual separation from the rest of the page. This example shows how element class and ID selectors work together to effectively style different parts of a web page. Now that your company's website is coming together, CSS selectors allow you to refine its design efficiently. Element selectors apply styles across all elements of a specific tag. Class selectors allow you to target multiple elements with shared styles, and ID selectors let you customize unique sections. In this video, you learned how to use these selectors and properties to target HTML elements, ensuring a polished, consistent, and maintainable design. With these tools, you can style your site precisely and flexibly, just what's needed to make it stand out. You open a web page you've never visited before and discover that it contains large amounts of printed text. To your dismay, the font, which is the style of the letters, is very ornate with lots of embellishments. The characters are all very, very small. They're also light-coloured on an equally pale background. In this situation, do you think you would feel motivated to continue reading? Choosing the correct font, font color, and font size is crucial to creating a visually appealing web page and ensuring that users have a positive experience. In this video, you'll learn how to style text using various font properties and text alignment techniques to enhance the look and feel of your web page. It can be difficult to make a choice from a list of hundreds of different fonts. However, you should consider two things: the type of content and the type of audience. This way you can choose an appropriate font that will have a positive impact on your design. Different types of fonts are suitable for different types of content. Let's explore some of these. First, serif fonts. These are decorative fonts containing additional strokes on the letters. Examples are Times New Roman and Georgia. They work really well for formal content. Monospace fonts have equal width characters, which makes them perfect for displaying code. A common example of monospace is Courier New, which is great for technical content. Would you like the text on the screen to appear as if it were handwritten? Cursive fonts mimic handwriting and can add a personal touch to your designs. Brush script is a popular cursive font. Finally, do you want the text to appear decorative or themed? If you do, choose a fantasy font, such as Impact, which would be perfect for elements that need to grab attention. Of course, you can mix and match fonts to emphasize the message in the content. For example, you could use sans serif for a more modern look and serif or sans serif for areas where you require a more traditional feel. Using a different font for headings and body text can emphasize the hierarchy of headings and improve readability. Selecting the right font with the font family property can significantly elevate your website's design. Let's explore an example. You're building a personal portfolio webpage to introduce yourself, showcase your skills, and describe your services. Initially, your portfolio.html document will display with default HTML styling, meaning the text is unstyled, lacks alignment, and has no visual enhancements. It will look plain and basic. Let's step through how you could add instructions to improve the appearance and add the required styling changes. Your current portfolio page has been produced by this HTML document. When viewed in the browser, your portfolio.html document displays your content without cascading style sheets or CSS styling. Your web page text has a modern and more readable font. You decide to change the font family property to change text appearance and align it with your website's design. To do this, you apply this code inside the opening style tag, closing style tag element. In this code, body targets the entire web page content, and the font family property sets the font to Arial. Next, you decide to use the font size property to adjust the size of headings 1 and 2 text. Initially, the font size of headings is decided by the web browser based on the HTML element type. By using CSS, you could ensure all browsers use your chosen size and font instead of the default format. Here, heading 1 or H1 is set to 36 pixels, and heading 2 or H2 is set to 28. Paragraph text is set to 16. CSS allows the use of different absolute measurement units. You can specify which one to use by adding letters. px indicates pixels, in is inches, cm for centimeters, and mm for millimeters. If you add the initials pt, this indicates that the measurement unit is in points. There are approximately 72 points in 1 inch. You decide to emphasize the importance of some text by making it thicker and more attention-grabbing. To do this, you adjust the font weight property, which allows you to control the boldness of the text. You can set values like normal, bold, or even numerical values for more control. To make the inspirational quote on your portfolio stand out, you decide to style it in italics. The font style property can be used to italicize text or set it back to normal. Adding this line ensures that block quote uses font style italic. Next, you specify the alignment of the text elements using the text align property. Here, the paragraph text, indicated by the P, is aligned to the left. This code ensures that heading 1, H1, is centered, giving it a balanced, prominent position. The signature is aligned to the right for a stylized personal touch. Next, you decide to create a neat and professional appearance by using the article element with text align. Justify property to evenly distribute the text across the element's width. The text decoration property is used to underline, overline, or strike through text. In the portfolio, you have added a hyperlink to give users an easy way to contact you. By adding this code, you ensure that the Contact Me text and any other hyperlinks are underlined using text decoration underline. As always, you should consider the audience when styling your text. You decide to increase the space between the lines to create more open, readable text. The line height property controls the spacing between lines of text. Here, the paragraph elements represented by the P are set to a line height of 1.6, which sets the space between lines to 1.6 times the size of the font. The letter spacing property adjusts the space between characters, enhancing readability or adding stylistic flair. In this example, the H1 element has a letter spacing of 2 pixels. Your code now contains the amendments you needed to change the styling of the content in the portfolio. By changing the font family, font size, text alignment, text decoration, line height, and letter spacing, you have improved the appearance of the portfolio document. In this video, you learned how to style text using CSS font properties and text alignment. You explored how to adjust the font family, the size, weight, and style, and how to control text alignment. Additionally, you covered extra text styling options like line spacing, letter spacing, and text decoration. All of these techniques will be useful tools in ensuring that your web content is readable and appealing to users. Keep experimenting with these properties to find the best combination that elevates your design and expresses your personality. Think of arranging items on a shelf, sometimes aligned side by side, other times stacked top to bottom. Now imagine having the power to rearrange and space them effortlessly, no matter their size or shape. That's precisely what Flexbox, or CSS Flexible Box Layout, offers for web layouts. This video introduces Flexbox, a powerful tool for building responsive and adaptable designs. You'll learn how Flexbox simplifies the alignment, spacing, and organization of web elements. Flexbox easily arranges and aligns web elements inside a container, no matter how much space is available. Items can align horizontally, stack vertically, or space themselves evenly, adapting to different screen sizes without breaking the layout. In CSS, a container refers to any HTML element that holds other elements. These inner elements are called child elements, and they inherit layout rules from the container. Let's break down 4 key Flexbox properties. The display flex property activates Flexbox for a container. When set, all direct child elements become flexible, allowing you to easily align and arrange items like images or text. The justify content property manages the horizontal spacing inside the container. It controls how space is distributed between items along the main axis. In this example, space between ensures the items are evenly spaced across the container. The align items property handles vertical alignment. This centers all items vertically, making the layout look balanced. The flex direction property controls how items are arranged in a flex container. The default value is row, meaning the items align horizontally. Switching to column stacks the items vertically. In this example, the items now stack vertically instead of aligning side by side. Seems tricky? Let's break it down to show just how easy it can be by walking through the structure of Cafe Delight, a small independent coffee shop's webpage, before applying any Flexbox rules. This HTML document outlines the key sections on the webpage: the menu, image gallery, and customer testimonials. Let's break down some structural issues that become evident when viewing this layout. The menu items and testimonials are listed vertically, but since there's no alignment or spacing control, they will appear as a basic list without much structure or organization. All images align in a row, but don't wrap properly on smaller screens. So you've explored what it looks like in a HTML document, but how about on the actual web page? The design struggles with responsiveness, meaning it doesn't adjust smoothly to different screen sizes. As a result, elements can become misaligned or awkward gaps might appear, especially on smaller screens. Additionally, the sections lack alignment control. Without centering or distributing the elements evenly, the layout feels unbalanced and somewhat disorganized. The spacing between elements is also quite limited, making the page feel cramped and harder to navigate. These issues affect both the usability and visual appeal of the web page, especially for users on mobile devices. Using Flexbox makes it much easier to control the layout and alignment of web elements. Let's start by improving the menu section. Applying display flex to the dot menu container allows for better control over how the items are positioned. In this example, setting flex direction column ensures the menu items stack vertically, and align item stretch ensures they expand to fill the available space, making the layout more readable and consistent. The image section also benefits from Flexbox, especially when it comes to creating a responsive layout. Enabling FlexWrap ensures that images automatically move to the next line when there isn't enough space on the current row, preventing overflow issues. Additionally, setting Justify Content Center ensures the images remain centered within the container, giving the section a clean and balanced look. Flexbox helps align and organize the testimonials, making the section more visually appealing. Setting Display Flex on the dot testimonials container allows for better control over spacing and alignment. Using Flex Direction column stacks the testimonials vertically, and align items center ensures they are centered within the section, resulting in a more polished design. Let's update the CSS in the cafe.html document to bring these improvements together. With Flexbox applied, the layout immediately becomes more polished and balanced. As shown here, the adjustments ensure better alignment and spacing across all sections, creating a cleaner and more visually appealing design. Notice how each section now flows more naturally. The images are centered and wrapped neatly when needed, preventing overflow issues. Testimonials are aligned consistently, giving the content a more organized structure. Even the menu, with items spaced evenly and aligned perfectly, feels more readable and easy to navigate. It looks much better, right? But remember, these enhancements don't just improve the page's appearance, they also improve the user experience. In this video, you learned how to use Flexbox techniques to transform Cafe Delight's webpage into a responsive, adaptive layout. These methods are essential for building modern, flexible websites that look great on any device. You're browsing the web on your smartphone while waiting for your coffee. You open a beautifully designed website, but when you try to read the content, you have to zoom in and scroll sideways just to view everything. Frustrating, because you know you opened the same web page on your tablet and it looked perfect. If the web page looks perfect on one device but messy on another, then it hasn't been designed responsively. So what does this mean? Responsive design is an approach to web design that ensures the website automatically adapts to different devices to present the best viewing experience to the user. It ensures that web pages look good and function well on a variety of devices, from smartphones to tablets to desktops. In this video, you'll explore the essentials of responsive design, focusing on how media queries can help you adjust layouts based on screen size, ensuring that your web page looks good on mobile phones, tablets, and desktops. The very basis of responsive design in CSS are media queries, which allow you to apply styles based on device characteristics like screen width or resolution using the @media query rule. They allow you to conditionally apply styles based on device characteristics like screen size, orientation, or resolution using the @media rule. You can adjust layouts, font sizes, and other styles to ensure your site looks polished on every device. A key element of responsive web design is breakpoints. They are important because they mark specific points where a website's layout and content should adapt to a different screen size or a different device. If you define breakpoints using @media, you can change the web page design at specific screen widths. For example, this CSS uses a media query to change the text color of p tag elements from black to blue when the screen width reaches 600 pixels. That example only modifies the color, but media queries can change any CSS property based on the screen size. In order to have media queries work correctly on mobile devices, you need to include a viewport meta tag in your HTML. This tag tells the browser how to display the web page by controlling its size and scaling. Without it, even with responsive styles, the page might not display correctly on mobile screens. For instance, the text may appear too small or the layout might not fit correctly on the screen. In this code, the meta tag provides information about the web page, and the name equals viewport defines the viewport settings. Content equals sets the viewport width to match the device's width, and the initial zoom level to 1.0. This ensures that the content fits the screen and is readable without zooming. You've created a welcoming web page for Sweet Treats Bakery, which specializes in cakes, cookies, and pastries. Let's examine how the page currently appears on different devices and how you can adapt the code to overcome any issues so that the page appears the same on any device. The welcome.html includes a Welcome to Sweet Treats Bakery heading. It also defines 4 main sections displayed in 4 columns across all devices. Each column contains a heading and descriptive text underneath. The 4 columns are Our Products, Special Offers, Visit Us, and Customer Reviews. Each of them contains a description. Currently, all the sections are displayed in 4 side-by-side columns on every screen, including mobile devices. While these appear clearly on standard screens, on smaller screens, this 4-column layout may feel cramped, squishing the content horizontally and making it difficult to read and navigate. However, there is a solution. Media queries can be used to adjust the layout based on the screen size. This will enhance the user experience across devices. Here are some guidelines for applying the media query. For large screens, such as desktops, all 4 columns can be shown side by side. You can maximize the widescreen by applying a media query targeting screens 1024 pixels wide and above. But what about smaller and more portable devices we all use every day? For medium-sized screens such as tablets, you could display 2 columns side by side to more effectively utilize screen space. Do this by using a media query for screens with a minimum width of 601 pixels and a maximum width of 1023 pixels. For small screens such as mobile devices, you can stack all columns vertically for easier reading and navigation. To do this by applying a media query targeting screens 600 pixels wide or by making this the default setting. By adjusting the layout for different screen sizes, you ensure the website is user-friendly and visually appealing on all devices. Let's fix this issue for sweet treats by modifying the CSS for responsive design. Let's start by stacking the columns vertically for small screens by considering a base style. By using default HTML styling settings, each section, header, content, and footer will naturally stack vertically, creating a clean, linear flow for content on narrow screens. In this base style, the .content class utilizes flex direction column to stack elements within the content area, ensuring a vertical layout with space between sections, gap 20 pixels. This approach maintains readability and consistency on smaller devices. Next, adjust the layout to display 2 columns side by side for tablets with screens that are at least 600 pixels wide and a maximum of 1023 pixels. This code adjusts the layout so each content section takes up half the width, with space between columns. For larger screens starting from 1024 pixels and above, you want 4 columns side by side. This can be achieved by giving each column a width of 25%. Minus spacing, 20 pixels. Here's the complete solution with media queries applied. To switch between different views, mobile, tablet, or desktop, and test media queries in your web browser, first open Developer Tools by right-clicking on the page and selecting Inspect. Click on the phone tablet icon at the top left of the Developer Tools panel to toggle the device toolbar. The base styles define the common design elements that apply to all screen sizes. At the same time, they optimize the initial layout for smaller screens, 600 pixels or smaller, where columns stack vertically. Once the screen width reaches 601 pixels on a device such as a tablet, the columns are arranged in 2 columns side by side. However, on desktop screens, which are 1024 pixels and wider, 4 columns are displayed side by side. Well done! Because of these adjustments, customers can comfortably view the Sweet Treats Bakery information on any device. This can only be good for business. In this video, you learned about responsive design and the importance of making your web pages look good on various devices. You explored how to use media queries to apply different styles based on screen size and how to implement the viewport meta tag for responsive behavior. By applying these techniques, you'll create a more user-friendly experience, making your website adaptable to all devices and ensuring that your content shines wherever it's viewed. Have you ever visited a website, hovered over a button and noticed it smoothly change color? Or watched images slide effortlessly into place as you scroll down? These experiences are created with CSS transitions and animations. In this video, you'll learn how to build basic CSS transitions and keyframe animations. Get ready to bring life to your web pages and create a more engaging user experience. CSS transitions make changes feel smooth by easing between different styles, while animations allow you to choreograph more complex sequences of movements and transformations. A transition might be as simple as a button slowly changing color when hovered over. Animations, however, can handle more complex sequences, like moving an element across the screen, changing its color midway, and fading it out at the end. To build these effects, it's important to understand the key properties involved. Let's start by exploring the key properties of CSS transitions. First, transition property defines which CSS property will change, like background color, which adjusts the element's color, or transform, which modifies its shape, size, or position. Next, transition duration controls how long the transition takes, whether it's 0.5 seconds for a quick effect or 2 seconds for a slower one. Transition timing function controls the speed of the transition, determining whether it moves smoothly, quickly at the start, or eases out towards the end, with values like ease, linear, or ease in out. Ready to take it a step further? Now let's explore the key properties of CSS animations. At keyframes outlines the different styles an element will go through at specific points in the animation. Animation name links the element to the correct at keyframes rule, while animation duration defines how long the entire animation takes, whether in seconds or milliseconds. Animation timing function controls the speed of the animation over its duration, allowing for different pacing styles. As with transition timing function, common values include ease, linear, ease in, ease out, and ease in out. Then there's animation delay, which adds a pause before the animation begins. This can be useful when sequencing multiple animations. If the animation needs to repeat, use animation iteration count. You can specify a number or use infinite for continuous looping. For even more control, animation direction determines whether the animation plays forward, backward, or alternates between the two. Animation fill mode specifies how styles are applied before and after the animation runs, while animation play state allows you to pause and resume an animation whenever needed. Now that the key properties are clear, how will they look in action? Here's a simple example that brings these transition properties to life. In this example, you've created a box that changes its background color, size, and position when hovered over. Transition property is set to background color and transform, meaning both the background color and the element's transformation will animate when the box is hovered over. Next, transition duration is set to 0.5 seconds, so the changes will take half a second to complete, creating a smooth visual effect. Finally, transition timing function is set to ease in out. This means the transition will start slowly, pick up speed in the middle, and then slow down again towards the end. Let's explore how these transitions come together. Notice how the box smoothly changes color and shifts position when rolled over. These effects help enhance interactivity, making the design feel more responsive. Great job mastering transitions. Now let's take things a step further with CSS animations. Here's a basic example that demonstrates how different animation properties work together. In this example, you've created a simple animated box that changes its position, color, and size using key animation properties to control the effect. The animation is defined with the at keyframes rule. This is where the sequence of changes is set, starting with a specific position, color, and size, and gradually shifting to new ones as the animation plays. In the .animated box class, the animation name property connects the box to the move and grow keyframes. Animation duration is set to 2 seconds, meaning it takes 2 seconds for the box to complete one full cycle from start to finish. Animation timing function is set to ease in out, so the movement starts slow, speeds up in the middle, and then slows down again at the end. There's also a 1 second delay added with animation delay, so the animation waits a moment before it begins after the page loads. Animation iteration count is set to infinite, meaning the animation will keep looping continuously. To create a back and forth effect, animation direction is set to alternate, which makes the animation reverse direction after each cycle. The animation fill mode property is set to forwards, ensuring that the box keeps the final styles from the last keyframe after the animation completes. And finally, animation play state is set to running, meaning the animation starts immediately, but this can be changed to paused if needed. Let's explore how this animation works in practice. This is a great example of how combining multiple animation properties can add movement and polish to a design. This video covered the core concepts of CSS transitions and animations, two powerful techniques for enhancing user experiences on the web. Transitions allow elements to respond smoothly to interactions, while animations offer greater control over complex style changes. Using these techniques helps you build more engaging, user-friendly applications. Subtle effects like these guide attention and make interactions feel smoother. Try experimenting with them in your own projects to see how even small changes can make a big impact. While HTML structures your content and CSS defines its appearance, it is JavaScript that injects life into the static, making your web pages not only visible, but also responsive and engaging. Today's web pages and applications are brimming with interactive touchpoints, buttons waiting to be clicked, forms validating input in real time, and tooltips that appear at the slightest hover. These interactions are no longer optional. They are integral to the modern web experience, inviting users to actively engage with the interface. In this video, you'll learn how JavaScript turns basic front-end design into a dynamic interactive environment. First things first, what is JavaScript? JavaScript is a powerful scripting language predominantly used in web development to create dynamic interactive features that engage users in real time. Unlike programming languages designed for standalone applications or systems, JavaScript is typically embedded within websites to enhance the user experience. It operates directly in the browser, meaning that each time you visit the web page, your browser is executing the JavaScript code. This enables interactivity without needing the page to reload. JavaScript is both beginner-friendly and indispensable in modern web development. And alongside HTML and CSS, it forms the backbone of the web. HTML lays the foundation, structuring the content of the web page, such as paragraphs, headings, and lists. CSS defines the appearance, styling everything from fonts to colors and layouts. And it's JavaScript that breathes life into the page, adding behaviors like clickable buttons, animations, and interactive content that responds to user input. JavaScript is crucial in web development because it empowers developers to create complex dynamic behaviors on web pages that transcend the limitations of HTML and CSS. For example, JavaScript can instantly validate form data before it's submitted, preventing errors and streamlining user input. It can help seamlessly update page content in real time without refreshing the entire page, as seen in continuously updating social media feeds. And browser-based games and visual effects wouldn't be half as captivating without the interactive elements JavaScript brings to the table. Ultimately, JavaScript is critical because it brings a level of responsiveness that keeps users engaged. Some examples will help show how JavaScript adds interactivity. First, JavaScript can track user actions. Whether it's typing into a form, clicking a button, or hovering over a specific element, and react accordingly. Another way JavaScript leverages interactivity is form validation. Imagine filling out a form and forgetting to enter your email address or entering an invalid one. Rather than submitting incomplete or incorrect data to the server, JavaScript can instantly flag the error, guiding you to correct it before submission. JavaScript is also pivotal in updating web page content without requiring a full page reload. Social media feeds are a prime example. New posts or comments appear seamlessly as they arrive without disrupting the user's experience. As you'll soon learn, this is done using a technique called AJAX, which stands for Asynchronous JavaScript and XML. It enables parts of a page to update with new data from the server without needing to reload the whole page. As a final example of JavaScript's power, if you want captivating visual effects like animations, fading content, or smoothly moving elements, you'll be turning to JavaScript. And don't be mistaken, these effects do more than just beautify a web page. They enhance user engagement, making interactions more immersive and appealing. To get a sense of how JavaScript works in practice, let's consider a basic HTML button and how JavaScript will handle the action when it's clicked. The HTML here includes a button element, which users can click. When the button is clicked, it triggers a JavaScript function called displayMessage. The displayMessage function then changes the content of a paragraph element, which is located just above the script tag. It updates the paragraph marked with the ID message to display the text, "Hello, JavaScript is working." This simple example shows how JavaScript reacts to user input, modifying the content of the page dynamically without reloading it. As a result, the user sees the text update instantly without the page needing a refresh. The bottom line is this: JavaScript is an essential tool in modern web development. With the versatility it offers, developers can validate forms, build interactive maps like Google Maps, create dynamic web applications, develop browser-based games and animations, and so much more. As you begin your journey with JavaScript, you'll quickly discover just how powerful and fun it can be. If you're interested in web development, game design, or even building simple websites, mastering JavaScript will unlock endless possibilities. Happy coding! JavaScript is everywhere. Whether you're building websites, developing apps, or automating tasks, JavaScript powers the web. This video covers the basics of JavaScript, focusing on variables, data types, and performing basic operations. Let's start with variables, which you can think of as containers for storing data values. Like in other programming languages, JavaScript uses variables to manage information throughout your code. To declare variables, JavaScript provides 3 options. Remember, this example uses the JavaScript file named declare.js. The first and original way to declare variables was with var, which is either function or global scope. Variables declared with var can also be redeclared and updated. Second, the let keyword, introduced in ES6, is block scoped. This means that variables declared with let are only accessible within the block where they're defined, such as within a loop or function. Third, also introduced in ES6, const, short for constant, is used to declare variables that cannot be reassigned. However, objects or arrays declared with const can still be modified. Let's understand how declaring variables work in code with an example. Here's a snippet from a JavaScript file named declare.js. This file contains a function called declare variables, where my name is declared using var, meaning it can be redeclared or updated later. Age is declared with let, making it block scoped and more secure for specific blocks of code. Country is declared with const, which cannot be reassigned. To run the declare.js file using HTML, include it with the script tag and its src attribute in a HTML file, for example, declare.html. You can then trigger the declare variables function by clicking a button with the onClick attribute. Now run the code and check the output. First, open your project folder in VS Code. Then, install the live server extension from the VS Code marketplace. Open the declare.html file, which already includes your JavaScript file, using the script tag. And right-click the declare.html file and select Open with Live Server. Your browser will open the web page. To see the JavaScript output, right-click on the page and select Inspect. Finally, go to the Console tab and click the button labelled Click to invoke JavaScript. The output will appear in the console like this. Done. What makes JavaScript variables powerful is their flexibility. They can store various types of data such as numbers, strings, and booleans. JavaScript is also dynamically typed, meaning you don't need to specify a variable's data type when declaring it. The type is determined by the value assigned. The basic data types in JavaScript include numbers used for numeric values, both integers and floating point numbers, strings used for text, enclosed within single or double quotes, booleans, logical data type that can only be true or false, undefined, a variable that has been declared but has not yet been assigned a value, and null, which represents the intentional absence of any value. Let's explore these data types by creating a JavaScript file named datatypes.js, which contains a function called invoke datatype. This function declares all the basic data types and prints their values to the browser console. In this example, number value is automatically recognized as a number. String value is a string indicated by the quotation marks. Boolean value is a Boolean with a value of true. Undefined value is undefined, since no value has been assigned yet. And null value is explicitly set to null, representing no value. Now include the datatype.js file in the datatypes.html file using the script tag with its src attribute. Then use the onClick attribute on a button to invoke the invoke datatype function. Now just run the datatypes.html file using the Open with Live Server option and view the output in the browser's console. Now that you understand variables and data types, let's explore basic operations in JavaScript. Like other programming languages, JavaScript supports common arithmetic operations and string manipulation. Let's start with common arithmetic operations, which include addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and modulus, which returns the remainder of a division. Here's a function named arithmetic operation defined in the JavaScript file arithmetic.js. It demonstrates the basic arithmetic operations on two numbers and prints the results to the browser console. In this example, you perform basic operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. The modulus operator returns the remainder when dividing num1 by num2. Include the arithmetic.js file in the HTML file arithmetic.html using the script tag. Invoke the arithmetic operation function when a button is clicked using the onClick attribute. And now simply run arithmetic.html using Open with Live Server and view the output in the browser's console. The last operation is string concatenation. This is the process of combining two or more strings into one. In JavaScript, you can concatenate strings using either the plus operator or template literals, introduced in ES6, with backticks. In this example, the function string concat is defined in the JavaScript file string.js. It demonstrates two ways to concatenate strings. The plus operator combines first name and last name into full name with a space in between. Template literals provide a more readable way to concatenate strings by embedding variables directly within the string using backticks. To run the code, include string.js in the HTML file string HTML using the script tag. Invoke the string concat function on the button click using the onClick attribute. Finally, run string.html using Open with Live Server and view the output in the browser's console. And there you have it, a concatenated string. Understanding variables, data types, and basic operations is key to using JavaScript effectively. Whether you're calculating values, manipulating text, or handling user input, these core concepts are the foundation of JavaScript programming. With this knowledge, you're ready to start building interactive web pages and dive into more advanced JavaScript topics. Have you ever wondered how a web page updates instantly when you click a button or fill out a form? These instant changes happen because, behind the scenes, the browser is constantly updating and interacting with the page's structure. When a browser loads a web page, it creates a live model of the HTML document in memory, called the Document Object Model, or DOM. JavaScript can then manipulate the DOM to change elements on the page in real time, making web pages dynamic and interactive. In this video, you'll learn how to use JavaScript to interact with and modify the structure of a web page by working with DOM elements. Technically speaking, the DOM is an interface that allows JavaScript to interact with the structure of an HTML document. It represents the entire web page, including elements like headings, paragraphs, images, and links, as objects that can be accessed and modified by JavaScript. So, as an example, for this simple HTML document with tags for the head, title, body, and so on, in the DOM, each HTML element is represented as a node in a tree-like structure, like we have here. The hierarchical structure allows JavaScript to access and modify each element or node in the DOM. This DOM tree enables JavaScript to access, modify, add, or remove elements, allowing dynamic changes to the web page without needing to reload it. JavaScript can access and manipulate DOM elements using several methods, which can be grouped into 3 main tasks. You can select elements using specific methods. Document.getElementById selects an element by its ID. Document.getElementsByClassName selects all elements with a specific class name. Document.getElementsByTagName selects all elements with a specific tag name, such as p, div, and so on. You can modify elements to change their content or styling. Inner HTML changes the content inside an element. Style modifies the CSS styles of an element. Set attribute changes the attributes of an element. And you can create and remove elements to add new content or delete existing content. JavaScript can create new DOM elements using document.createElement, add them to the DOM using methods like appendChild, and remove elements using removeChild. One of the most common ways to manipulate the DOM is by changing the text or HTML content inside an element. JavaScript provides several methods to do this, with one of the most popular being document.getElementById. Let's walk through an example to see how it's done. This code is for a web page with multiple buttons that, when clicked, change the background color of the page. In terms of the HTML structure, notice here the web page has multiple buttons, each corresponding to a different color. When the button is clicked, the change color function is triggered, passing the respective color as an argument. To achieve this, JavaScript function updates the background color of the web page. The change color JavaScript function accepts a color parameter and sets the background color of the body element using document.body.style.backgroundColor. This function is triggered by the onClick attribute in each button on the HTML page. When a button is clicked, it calls change color with a specific color value. So, when the red button is clicked, you get this change. The same goes for green, blue, and yellow. In this video, you've learned that by selecting, modifying, and updating DOM elements, you can create dynamic and interactive websites that respond instantly to user input and events. This is crucial because it enables web pages to provide a seamless, real-time experience for users, allowing content and styles to change instantly based on interactions without needing a page reload. With these skills, you're ready to bring your web pages to life and make them truly interactive. Every effective program is built on smart control, deciding when to take certain actions and how often to repeat them. In real-world applications, this capability is crucial for tasks like validating user information, managing inventory, or automating routine calculations. In this video, you'll learn how conditional statements and loops in JavaScript give you this flexibility, enabling you to create dynamic, responsive programs. Managing decision-making in a program is essential. Conditional statements such as if, and else allow you to execute certain blocks of code only when specific conditions are true. For example, in a voting application, conditional statements can determine whether a user meets criteria to proceed. This program is set up to verify eligibility based on whether the user is 18 years or older. If this condition is true, the program outputs "you are eligible to vote." If the condition is false, meaning the user is underage, it outputs "you are not eligible to vote." You could also use else or else-if statements for alternative conditions. For example, an else-if statement could check if a user is 16 or 17 and display "you are almost eligible to vote." If not, an else statement outputs "you are not eligible to vote." Just as conditional statements control the flow of a program based on specific conditions, loops provide another form of control by allowing you to repeat a block of code multiple times until a certain condition is met. This is particularly useful for tasks like iterating through lists or performing repeated calculations. One of the most commonly used loops in JavaScript is the for loop, especially useful when you know the exact number of repetitions. The for loop needs 3 elements to run effectively. a starting value for the loop variable to initialize it, a condition that keeps the loop going as long as it's true, instructions to update the loop variable after each iteration. For example, this loop starts the counter at 1 and continues running as long as the counter is less than or equal to 5. After each iteration, the counter is incremented by 1. The loop then prints the current iteration number, resulting in the following output. A real-world task can demonstrate the challenges that conditional statements and loops are designed to solve. Imagine you're creating a program to calculate and display a student's grade based on their average marks. To achieve this, a program can use a loop to process marks and conditional statements to assign a grade. First, we define an array of marks representing the scores of 5 subjects. A for loop then iterates over the array, adding each subject's mark to the total. Once the loop completes, we calculate the average by dividing the total by the number of subjects with marks.length. Using if, else if, and else statements, the program assigns a grade based on the calculated average. A for an average of 90 or above, B for between 80 and 89, C for between 70 and 79, and F for an average below 70. The program then outputs the average marks and assigned grade. With the right conditionals and loops, it's set up to automate calculations and handle basic decision making. In this video, you've learned how conditional statements like if and loops like for are essential tools that control the flow of JavaScript programs. If statements allow you to execute code based on specific conditions, while for loops handle repetitive tasks like iterating through arrays. Together, these constructs enable you to tackle practical problems, such as calculating grades based on a student's marks, as well as filtering data, managing inventories, and validating user inputs in real-world applications. With your experience in Java, you're well equipped to apply these concepts in JavaScript, bringing powerful logic and control to your code. Form validation is an essential aspect of web development. It ensures that users enter the required information in the correct format before submitting data. JavaScript enables client-side validation, enabling you to check input values and provide instant feedback to users without reloading the page. One common validation task is checking whether required form fields are left empty and displaying an error message if they are. In this video, you'll explore examples of how to use JavaScript for simple form validation with an empty input check, how to validate a user's password and confirm it in a registration form, and gain an understanding of how JavaScript processes these validation steps. It's time to get started. First, let's examine how to use JavaScript to validate form inputs. To validate a form field, you can check if the input value is empty or does not meet specific requirements when the user tries to submit the form. This prevents incomplete form submissions and improves data quality. To gain a better understanding, let's explore an example. Let's create a form where the user is required to enter their name and email. If either field is left empty, JavaScript will display an error message and prevent form submission. First, the index.html file contains the form's HTML structure with links to the CSS and JavaScript files. Next, the style.css file defines the CSS styling for error messages, making them red in color. Finally, the script.js file contains the JavaScript validation logic that checks if required fields are empty and displays error messages. The final output should display like this. Now let's explore a real-time example that demonstrates validating a user's password and confirming it in a registration form. This example checks whether the password and confirmation password fields match and meet specific length requirements. If they don't, an error message is displayed. The requirements are as follows. First, the password field should not be empty and must have at least 8 characters. Next, the confirm password field must match the password field. And finally, error messages are displayed if any of the above conditions are not met. The HTML file is used for form structure. The CSS file is used for error message styling. And the JavaScript file is used for validation logic. Let's examine the process in more detail, starting with the HTML structure. The form contains 2 password fields, one for the user's password, ID equals password, and one for confirming the password, ID equals confirm password. Next to each field is a span, with the class error to display validation messages. Next is the CSS styling. The dot error class styles the error messages in red, making them visible and easy to notice. And finally, there's the JavaScript validation logic. The validate form function is triggered when the form is submitted. It retrieves values from the password and confirm password fields. It first checks if the password is empty or has fewer than 8 characters and displays an error message if either condition is true. Then it checks if the confirm password value matches the password value, showing an error if they don't match. If either check fails, return false prevents the form from submitting. Here's how it works. When the user fills in both password fields and clicks register, the JavaScript function validate form is called. This function performs 2 main checks. It ensures that the password is at least 8 characters in length, and it confirms that both passwords match. If either validation fails, an error message displays next to the offending field or fields, and the form doesn't submit until the errors are corrected. In this video, you learned that validating form inputs using JavaScript enhances user experience by providing immediate feedback, reducing submission errors, and ensuring data integrity. By using JavaScript to check for required fields, input length, and matching values, developers can create responsive, user-friendly forms. In this example, password validation not only improves security by enforcing a minimum length, but also prevents user frustration by confirming both fields match before submission. Mastering client-side validation equips developers with essential skills to build interactive and secure web applications that align with user expectations and streamline the data entry process. With these essential JavaScript validation skills, you're ready to improve data accuracy and user experience on your forms. By applying what you've learned, you'll build forms that not only prevent errors, but also provide a smooth, interactive journey for users. Congratulations on completing this foundational module in front-end development. In this module, you've laid the groundwork for front-end development by creating interactive and responsive web pages with HTML and CSS. These skills are fundamental because they shape both the look and structure of any web application, ensuring your pages are not just functional, but also intuitive and engaging for users. Let's take a moment to reflect on the key concepts and techniques you've gained in this module and why they're vital to your future as a web developer. You began by learning the fundamentals of HTML, the language that structures every web page. From crafting simple headings and paragraphs to building more complex elements like lists, links, and tables, you've seen how HTML forms the backbone of web content. Each tag serves a specific role, whether it's creating a list, adding links, or organizing information. These foundational skills enable you to structure any web page in a way that's not only logical, but also accessible and engaging for users. Next, you expanded on these basics by incorporating images and forms into your web pages. Images bring your content to life, making it visually dynamic, while forms enable essential user interaction. You learned how to use the image tag to embed images and designed intuitive forms using form, input, and button tags. These tools are essential to creating interactive, user-focused websites where visitors can seamlessly engage with your content and submit data. But building a web page is more than just content. It's also about style and creating a positive user experience. That's where CSS comes in. You learned how to style your HTML elements using CSS selectors and properties, transforming basic page structure into something polished and visually appealing. Whether you're selecting the right colors and fonts, aligning text, or adding background images, CSS enables you to create pages that are not only functional, but also aesthetically engaging. With inline, internal, and external style sheets, you also discovered how to organize your styles efficiently, ensuring that your code remains clean and manageable. As you progressed, you moved beyond aesthetics and tackled responsive design, ensuring your web pages look great on any device, whether it's a desktop, tablet, or smartphone. Using media queries and responsive techniques, you ensure that your layouts seamlessly adapt to different screen sizes, delivering a smooth and consistent experience across platforms. And of course, layout plays a huge role in the user experience. You gained valuable insight into the CSS box model, mastering how to control spacing, margins, borders, and padding to create well balanced and structured designs. From there, you advanced to more sophisticated layout techniques, using Flexbox and CSS Grid, powerful tools that enable you to build flexible and responsive web layouts. These techniques are essential for creating visually dynamic and intuitive pages that respond effortlessly to any screen size, giving users a consistent experience no matter how they access your site. In the final part of this module, you added interactivity to your web pages using JavaScript. This is what brings your static HTML and CSS to life, allowing you to create dynamic and responsive user experiences. You started with the basics of variables, data types, and functions, which are essential for performing operations and managing data. From there, you learned how to use functions and handle events like button clicks, making your pages more interactive. A primary focus was on DOM manipulation, where you changed the content and structure of your web pages in real time based on user input. You also implemented form validation to ensure data is input correctly before submission, improving user experience and data integrity. By adding these skills to your toolkit, you've equipped yourself to build highly interactive, dynamic websites that respond seamlessly to user actions. This module focused on front-end development, equipping you with the skills to structure content with HTML, style it with CSS, and add interactivity using JavaScript. You're now able to build web pages that not only look great, but also engage users effectively. As you continue through this course, these foundational skills will be essential as you dive into backend development and learn how to integrate your front-end work with robust, scalable applications. Congratulations once again on completing Module 1. Keep building on what you've learned, and you'll continue growing as a full-stack web developer.